June 13th, 2020. A drug lord, a ghost in the system, is texting his hitman about a murder. He's discussing target photos, payment in Bitcoin, and logistics for a shipment of Pineapple's code for cocaine, all in real time. He has absolutely no idea the police are reading every word, every plan, every confession, for 3 years. Europe's most dangerous criminals thought they had the ultimate edge: unhackable phones. Tonight, 50,000 of them are about to get a message that will make them smash their devices with hammers. In a cold, anonymous flat, the ex-hacker who built this criminal empire is watching. He's witnessing over 100 million secret messages, the lifeblood of the global underworld, being copied straight to police servers. With shaking hands, he types the final, devastating message that will destroy everything he created. The message was one word: game over. But how did the most secure criminal network ever built end up becoming the biggest police trap in history? And why are criminals, despite this massive takedown, still falling for the exact same trick today? Welcome to the Digital Sleuth. This is a cybercrime documentary about the rise and fall of EncroChat, a phantom telecom that gave the world's most dangerous people a voice, and how a tiny flaw in their security led to the single biggest intelligence windfall in the history of organized crime. Our story begins 4 years earlier. In late 2016, the location, a forgotten pub basement on the periphery of Birmingham. The architects, 2 ex-soldiers, former Army veterans with a deep, practical understanding of secure communications in war zones. A few months prior, European law enforcement had successfully busted a secure phone outfitter that ran on modified Blackberries. This left a massive vacuum. The underworld drug cartels, arms dealers, organized crime syndicates was desperate for a new, high-security network. They were willing to pay anything for true silence. The 2 ex-soldiers saw the opportunity. They were staring at a multi-million-dollar black market that had just lost its phone provider. Their creation would be paranoid, obsessive, and perfectly tailored for criminality. They started with off-the-shelf Android phones, but they gutted them. They ripped out the GPS tracker. They tore out the camera. They installed a custom battery and a tamper-proof chip. This phone wouldn't make voice calls or browse the web at all. It would run a bespoke, tailored, encrypted messaging system only. Nothing else. Every single design choice was a countermeasure against law enforcement. A panic wipe feature would instantly nuke all data if a special PIN was entered. Type the wrong passcode too many times. Auto self-destruct. The system itself was designed around vanishing off-the-record or off-the-record chats, meaning messages would automatically disappear after a set time, making long-term storage of evidence impossible. It was, essentially, a snitch-proof version of Snapchat for crime bosses. They called the service EncroChat. The business model was pure black market efficiency. Customers would pay a massive premium, around $3, 0 inches Bitcoin or cash for a pair of phones, and another $1, 500 every 6 months for the service. They were selling secrecy, and secrecy, when you're moving kilos of cocaine, is priceless. They became the underworld's telecom company, and for a while, their plausible deniability that they were just providing privacy services to VIPs and celebrities held up. Of course, police later confirmed 90% of their users were criminals. EncroChat launched like a whisper but spread like wildfire. By 2018, it was the new gold standard. It was the digital town square for organized crime. In the late 2010 seconds, we saw a massive surge in dark web scams and sophisticated financial fraud. But the communication was always the weak link. EncroChat solved that problem. Picture this: you're a cartel boss in 2019, sitting anywhere in the world, holding what you think is an unbreakable phone. You're coordinating million-dollar drug deals, discussing money laundering mechanics, how to transfer illicit cash, using complex layers of shell companies and cryptocurrency tumblers to avoid detection. You're convinced you're untouchable. EncroChat became the Slack of organized crime, a closed messaging ecosystem where over 50 000 underworld figures, coordinated business in real time, totally encrypted. They communicated using cryptic language and code words. Like the aforementioned pineapples for cocaine. The founders, known only by aliases, stayed hidden. But their success was staggering. They were making tens of millions in revenue, all off the grid, renting space in a data center in Roubaix, northern France. Their only mistake, a fundamental misunderstanding of the true nature of their enemies. They focused on defeating phone-level attacks, but they underestimated the patience and resources of nation-state actors. In 2019, EncroChat phones were turning up at crime scenes with alarming frequency, always wiped clean. Law enforcement was frustrated, but they were also getting smart. In early 2019, a European joint task force formed, codenamed by the Dutch as Operation Limewood and the French as Operation Emma. Their mission was unprecedented: infiltrate and neutralize the entire network. They weren't hunting individual users, they were going after the infrastructure itself. The French gendarmerie traced EncroChat's servers to that data center in Roubaix. The phone's encryption was unbreakable. Yes, but the founders had made one fatal operational mistake. To keep the phones secure and updated to patch against newly discovered cybersecurity vulnerabilities, they had to push out routine software updates. For just a few seconds, every device had to connect and trust the central server. And in those few seconds, they were vulnerable. The French investigators didn't need to crack the encryption, they needed to become the server. In late 2019, EncroChat pushed what looked like a routine software update to all 50,000 phones. It was a Trojan horse, a beautifully executed piece of law enforcement malware. Hidden among the legitimate patches was a technical tool planted by the investigators themselves. When those tens of thousands of devices downloaded the update, they received an invisible payload. This malware didn't just sit there, it activated a keylogging function on the hidden interface. It logged each keystroke, including the PIN used to unlock the phone. Crucially, it could copy messages before they were encrypted and sent. Bypassing the unhackable security entirely, the police weren't outside the conversation anymore. They were literally sitting at the table, listening to every word. By March 2020, while the world was distracted by a pandemic, a far quieter, more consequential crisis was unfolding in the underworld. Police in France and the Netherlands were reading live EncroChat texts, hundreds of millions of them. They saw kingpins coordinating major phishing attacks, discussing how to compromise bank networks, detailing financial fraud mechanics, and even naming corrupt officials. The founders finally sensed the disturbance in May 2020 when customer support channels received odd complaints. My white PIN isn't working. My phone won't factory reset. They analyzed an affected device and the blood ran cold. Custom malware. A state-level implant. They scrambled, pushing a patch to purge the malware. But the attackers, the feds, were lying in wait. As soon as EncroChat pushed the patch, the police deployed a second, even more intrusive exploit. It was a digital chess match, and the ex-soldiers, the masters of paranoia, were checkmated by an opponent with unlimited resources. Knowing the jig was up, the founders had no choice. On June 13, 2020, the final message went out, telling users to power off and physically dispose of your device. Chaos erupted. Crime bosses smashed their phones with hammers. Mid-level dealers yanked batteries and dumped devices in rivers. They were trying to destroy the evidence. But it was far too late. The data, the confessions, the plans, the entire history of the network was already safe on police servers. The results of this takedown, dubbed Operation Venetic in the UK, were staggering. Police arrested more than 500 criminals across Europe. They seized tons of cocaine and weapons, and over $800 million in illicit cash. Investigators called it an intelligence goldmine, the biggest ever hit against organized crime communications. EncroChat was finished, but the demand for secure comms wasn't. The downfall left a power vacuum, and shockingly, criminals were dumb enough to fall for the same trick twice. Thousands of displaced criminals flocked to a rival service, Sky ECC. Its CEO insisted it was a legitimate privacy service. But as history quickly proved, it was the exact same dance. If EncroChat was the underworld's Slack, Sky ECC became its Microsoft Teams. In February 2021, a familiar drama replayed. Law enforcement, this time led by Belgian and Dutch cyber units, quietly infiltrated Sky ECC's service. They were eavesdropping on 70,000 users in real time. On March 9, 2021, massive raids swept across Europe again. Hundreds of suspects were arrested. The criminals were stunned. How did lightning strike twice? The answer is simple: complacency and operational security, or OPSEC. Criminals trusted the technology, but they didn't understand the fundamental security protocols. Any centralized system that requires updates, any system built by fallible human beings, has a central point of failure. The police learned their lesson from EncroChat and simply applied the same tactics to the next network. The stories of EncroChat and Sky ECC prove that the line between protection and surveillance is terrifyingly thin. While the police use these networks to catch criminals, the principles behind the hacks are the same ones used against you in a major phishing attack or a financial fraud scheme. So, how do we fight, prevent, and recover from these digital threats? Here's your digital sleuth takeaway. Principle 1. Don't trust the sender. The hack on EncroChat didn't crack the encryption, it exploited the update mechanism. For your own security, use decentralized and open-source encryption tools, where the code can be publicly scrutinized for backdoors. Principle 2. Phishing is OPSEC. The most sophisticated hack often starts with the simplest mistake. Always verify the source of an email or text. Assume any message asking for a password, PIN, or update confirmation is a phishing attempt. Principle 3. Use multi-factor authentication, or MFA. This is the single best defense against an account takeover. Even if a criminal steals your password through a keylogger or data breach, they still can't get in without that second code. Principle 4. If you suspect a breach, disconnect the device immediately. Change all associated passwords from a separate, clean device. Report the incident to relevant authorities or your bank. The founders of EncroChat created a perfect digital hideout, but they left a tiny digital key under the mat, and the police were just patient enough to find it. That's all for this cybercrime documentary. If you want to dive deeper into the dark corners of the digital world, hit that subscribe button. I'm the Digital Sleuth. Stay safe out there, and never stop questioning the systems you trust.